Welcome once again back to the lab. It is your old Professor Pilk, and we have to talk about the Primarina raid that's coming in tomorrow night. There is a lot to discuss here, so we're just gonna basically jump into it. Number one, all of her stats are down here. As you can see, she's 100% gonna be a special attacker, and she's got really high special defense. Speed stats, not that great. So if you have a speedy mon, you've got a pretty good chance of getting your attacks in first. Now, that does mean you do want to use physical attackers. 100%. You want to use physical attackers. Ability-wise, she's got two abilities. Most likely she's going to have Torrent. Her other ability turns any sound-based move into a water move. And we'll kind of get to that here in a minute, what that actually means. But she will have a Fairy Tera. That means defensively, she's going to be pure Fairy. So you really want to bring either a Poison or a Steel Pokemon. As you can kind of see back here, these things in green. Now, let's go ahead and jump into, before I do moves, I'm going to talk about potential status moves that she could have. Because remember, she could have up to 8 total moves. And I kind of feel like there's enough here. She could be like Charizard and have like all 8. So, first thing up is Reflect. Obviously, having very low, well, let's say not very low, but lower physical defense, most likely she'll have Reflect. That'll just stop you from doing damage for the first few turns. Baby Doll Eyes is also a great debuff she could have. She could have Sing to put you to sleep. That is right. They're probably going to want you to try to have a Chesto Berry or something. Sing isn't hugely accurate, but it could be a nuisance. It would just be very, very annoying. She could use Calm Mind as a buff. Amnesia is another, probably far more likely debuff she could potentially have, as well as Misty Terrain. Now, Misty Terrain is interesting. She will not have Sing and Misty Terrain. It'll be like one or the other, or neither. Basically, if you don't know, Misty Terrain, it's one of those that I commonly get messed up too. Because it's like, oh, it's going to buff my stats. No, actually, what Misty Terrain does is it prevents status effects for a certain number of turns. Now, she does potentially and almost guaranteed have an ice move in her repertoire, so I don't know if Misty Terrain will be up there. Misty Terrain and Sing are both big question marks for me, but she will either buff or debuff, so do be ready for that. If she is debuffing, some of these attacks could hurt pretty badly, but more than likely she'll have Calm Mind. I mean, I can almost guarantee she's going to have Calm Mind in her repertoire. So Reflect and Calm Mind, I think, are almost guaranteed to be in there. Now, damaging moves, okay? First things first, let's address the elephant in the room. The weaknesses. Steel, there is no move in her repertoire that will negate steel moves. So you really, really, really probably want to bring those steel Pokemon. Probably one of the reasons they waited so long in this one, because this is probably going to not be one of the more difficult raids, in my opinion. Now, could be wrong on that completely. Poison, however, and I'm kind of in front of it here, Poison is negated by Psychic. So any Psychic moves, Psychic attacks, will be super effective against Poisonmon. So if you are planning to bring Poison attacks, number one, Misty Terrain would prevent her from being poisoned. Number two, poison types are going to be damaged immensely by either Psychic or Psychic Noise. Now, the interesting thing then, kind of the weird caveat here, for whatever reason she has Psychic Noise, but she also has her hidden ability, that would turn Psychic Noise into a water move, and I don't think then that would be super effective. So there's an outside chance that you might have some saving grace there for those people that are planning to bring Poison. I wouldn't plan it. I'm planning to bring my Steel Pokemon. In fact, if you have some of the newer Paradox units on Violet, that actually might be a really fun one too. So Psychic, there will probably be a Psychic move in there. I think Psychic's probably the more likely of the two, because it seems to be the more damaging of the two. It's 90% power, all of that good stuff. I think that Psychic makes more sense, personally. She will have a water move, and Sparkling Aria is kind of her signature move, so most likely she will have that. She could potentially have Hydro Pump and or Surf as well, but I kind of feel like Sparkling Aria is most likely what she's going to bring to the table as her main DPS. as far as water goes. Though, do you remember she is a Fairy Tera and a Fairy type, so either Moonbeam or Dazzling Gleam is almost guaranteed one of the two. Probably Moonblast. I think I said Moon maybe a second ago. Probably Moonblast, most likely. That's a 95 power, 100% accuracy. Dazzling Gleam is 80 power. Is it 100? I thought it was a lower accuracy, but whatever. It's an 80 power, so most likely we're looking at Moonblast, to be completely fair here. She does have several different ice moves in her pocket. Ice Beam, Blizzard, and Triple Axle are all potential moves she could bring. Triple Axle, pretty unlikely, only because it's one of those moves that can hit several times, and each time it hits, it does 20 damage, so you could do anywhere between 20 damage and 100 damage, or equivalent, I guess you should say, to a base move. We don't see those often in Terra raids. It is a gamble, but it is distinctly possible to have that. However, if you're like, well, I'll just bring a fire Pokemon then, right? Remember, she's water type, guys. Just saying. Just saying. I think, in my personal opinion, I kind of feel like Ice Beam is more likely, though Blizzard is a heavy-hitting move, and with 70% accuracy, it's not guaranteed to hit, but probably Ice Beam. If you want my personal opinion, probably Sparkling Aria and Hydro Pump with Moonblast and Ice Beam, I think is the... Or, I'm sorry, Sparkling Aria, Moonblast, Ice Beam, and Psychic are probably going to be her main moves. We'll see how close I am to that. She also does have Energy Ball, but I don't think it's worth really mentioning because there's a really low likelihood of that being in her build. So if you want my opinion of the build, if I was personally going to build this Pokemon out for a Terra Raid event, we're probably looking at Sparkling Aria, Ice Beam, like I said, Moonblast, Psychic, and then probably Reflect with Calm Mind and potentially Amnesia. That would be pretty scary. Now, if she does have Misty Terrain, that does bring up a couple potential possibilities here. Number one, you would actually, if you have Misty Terrain, like if she drops Misty Terrain, you could actually use Steel Roller. And that's a heavy-hitting steel move that will potentially remove that Misty Terrain as well. So then you could inflict status on her and whatnot. But that is a move that only works when the field is changed. And if she does it over and over again, it could be a punishing move that would be really fun to have in your back pocket. Plus, obviously, if you're running with, when we run solo with, I think it's Arbulva, oftentimes that the field will change to like grass, and then you could just spam that. Well, not spam it, obviously, but every time it's changed to grass, use it. It's a big, heavy, 130 power, I think, something like that. Crazy big move. Gigaton Hammer with, my girl. Gigaton Hammer is another move that you could have. Potentially, you can't use it back to back, but it is something that that you could use in this raid. So really just keep in mind of the steel type units you want here, and you do want physical attacks. So start planning, guys. I'll bring you a few Mon this evening that you could probably start prepping for this. I think they're going to be awesome for this. As well as some other Mon tomorrow night that we will have tested on the live stream and may or may not work. But I will bring you 5 Pokemon tomorrow that we did test on the live stream and that 100% solo this, and I guarantee you most of these are going to be a lot of fun. So, like, comment, share. As always, I'll be back with more Pokemon Scarlet and Violet coming real soon.